Imagine you go to a place far away, where all the people there are supposedly living in tribes without technological advancements in the middle of a savannah. You're excited to finally experience what it's like to live outside the modern world. But then the first thing you see there is a modern DJ with a pair of roller skates and a biker girl with a bike more modern than your car, greeting you in the seemingly not so modern place. And with that, welcome to Natlan. Everyone, it's Aram here. So the first thing is, last time I made a video talking about why I think Natlan is overhated, and before you call me a hypocrite, I did mention in a short portion of that video that the Natlan character designs and kits aren't fitting. Therefore, in this video, I want to continue on that. But I recommend you to check that video out before this one. But back to the point, do Natlan characters not fit the vibe of Natlan and the vibe of Genshin in general, or are they misunderstood? Does a modern DJ and a modern biker have anything to do with what Natlan is based off? First, let's go back in time and check out some characters from each region so we can figure out a pattern of how Genshin designed their characters. Let's specifically talk about the Archons to make this a bit easier. Starting with Venti, the Archon of Mondstadt. Mondstadt as a nation is based off Germany, and if you look at Venti's character, he is a drunkard, which in fact does fit with Mondstadt being based off Germany, because beer is part of German culture. That doesn't only apply with the Archon, but with other characters like Diona. Next, the gameplay and kit of Venti. Venti is supposed to be the Archon of Anemo, and if we look at his gameplay, even though it's very simple, it really fits. He can summon wind currents, plus summon a wind vortex to group up enemies, meaning he can control the power of Anemo very easily. Now let's move on to Zhongli. He is the Archon of Liyue, and as you've guessed, Liyue is based off China, plus is the land of Geo. If we look at Zhongli's most noticeable thing about his character is that he likes to drink a lot of tea, and tea is part of Chinese culture. His kit on the other hand, he's a shielder, the best shielder in the game, which makes sense in him being the Archon of Geo. Same thing with Raiden, she has Japanese culture in her personality, and her gameplay has connection to her story, like how the sword she gets in her ult comes from the plane of Euthymia. Nahida is the Archon of Wisdom, plus she can read minds, which fits the fact that she is part of Irminsul. And Farina has a ton of French inspiration in her outfit and personality, plus her gameplay fits the fact that she was in a play to fool the heavenly principle. So there is a pattern. The Archons will have their kits and designs based on the place they are inspired from or their role in the story. Now let's take a look at Mavuika. As a disclaimer, I still haven't done Act 5 of the Archon quest, so if there is anything incorrect I say, do correct me in the comments. But anyways, Mavuika's personality in a nutshell has so far been for Natlan, which is what an Archon is supposed to do: protect their nation and have the people of the nation as the top priority, unless you're A. Cool, so Mavuika does fit that category, but how does her being a biker girl fit that? Let's first remember that Mavuika is not an actual Archon, but she's instead a talented warrior that had to emerge victorious in the war for her to get the place of Natlan's Archon. So is there a possibility of her being an outsider? Well, no, there isn't, because if you want to participate in the war, you need to be from Natlan and have an ancient name. So the possibility of her being a biker girl from outside Natlan who happened to want to join the war is not true. Well, does her being a biker girl have anything to do with her ancient name? Also no. Her ancient name is called Kyongosi, which stands for leader, so it does fit her being the Archon, but not a biker girl. But what else is left? Let's ask the question differently. What do motorbikes symbolize? They symbolize freedom, which does make sense with Natlan, since Natlan and Mavuika are fighting for freedom from the never-ending abyssal war on Natlan, which results in lives lost. Plus her being a biker does help her develop the impression of being confident and awe-inspiring, which helps in completing her personality. So interestingly enough, her having a motorbike does have a resemblance, but still, it doesn't change the fact that it feels out of place. Like having a person with a modern bike in a place that's apparently full of people living without modern technology makes zero sense whatsoever. But at least, it's good to know that they didn't just pick a motorbike randomly, and it does have inspiration. But Mavuika isn't the only one that feels out of place. Let's talk about Xilonen, who is basically a modern DJ. So what roles does Xilonen play in Natlan? Her role is to forge ancient names for Natlan, so yes, DJ Skater of Natlan turns out to be the blacksmith, just like Wagner. What if Wagner is secretly a DJ too? Jokes aside, as unfitting as it sounds, it is fitting. Roller skating is tied to Black American culture, plus Xilonen's design is related to Ocelotl, which is a jaguar, and we can see many parts of Xilonen's design being influenced by a jaguar, like her tail and eyes for example. A jaguar does symbolize strength, which can explain the fact that she's a blacksmith. She has the strength from being based off a jaguar, so she has the strength to be a blacksmith. But let's talk about her being a DJ. Once again, her being a DJ does play a role in her cultural significance. Even though it seems off, DJing is part of hip-hop, and hip-hop is a culture and art movement that was created by African Americans, and believe it or not, DJing was used to enable people to make statements, whether they are political or emotional, and participate in community activities. So Xilonen not being culturally inspired is false, because every part of her has a resemblance to where she's supposed to be from. Overall, Natlan characters in the aspect of them being not culturally inspired is just false, at least with Mavuika and Xilonen. But there is still one problem, and it's their kits. The kits of Natlan characters have so far been, yes, very different from other characters, with good attention to details, animation wise, but at the same time, they are not designed so well. Having great exploration quality of life be locked behind character kits is not a good move, especially the fact that their exploration quality of life gets nerfed outside of Natlan, but not so much to the point they become unusable. But it does make an issue where other regions feel slow to explore, especially after the Saurian's mechanic, and Natlan making the exploration part of characters kits feel crazy convenient, which will just make exploring other regions feel slow and painful. Furthermore, they do feel out of place for Genshin overall, and not just Natlan. And some characters like Mulani can be a pain to play outside of Natlan, because if you miss a skill attack without full stacks on her, she won't get her Night Soul increased, and if you aren't in Natlan, it's basically a DPS loss, but it can just be a skill issue on my side. To conclude, yes, Natlan characters are misunderstood in terms of regional inspiration, but the kits do feel out of place and foreign to Genshin overall feel. But it could just be that the combat mechanics of Genshin are leveling up. And do tell me your thoughts about this and where you disagree and agree. And if you have enjoyed, please do check out my other vids, leave a like and a sub, and as usual, I hope to see you soon.